in high definition. This is CBS 2 News at 5 a.m.
Other news this morning, the American Heart Association, for the first time now, is issuing new CPR guidelines today. The new rules make it easier to perform CPR to save lives in emergencies. CBS 2's Cara Finstrom this morning is live at Cedars-Sinai with a look at the new rules. Cara?
Well, the big change is with the sequence, the way CPR is done. It's now going to start with those chest compressions. We're going to walk you through all of that, and joining us live now is Dr. Mark Urman. He's a cardiologist. He's one of the directors of the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Thanks for coming in. Let's start off with those chest compressions, because that's really big, and that's why we've got the change here, correct?
That's right, Cara. Basically, it turns out that chest compressions are really the most important part of the CPR sequence, and that's what potentially is going to save a life. And now what we want people to focus on is if somebody collapses, you certainly call 911 as your first move or get somebody to do it for you, but immediately you can start with chest compressions. And one doesn't have to be formally trained in CPR. So any bystander can potentially be a lifesaver, help save a life. So what we want people to do now is just focus on the chest compressions. You can push as hard and fast as you can, at least 100 times a minute, at least 2 inches deep. And then hopefully as you're doing that, you're going to have trained personnel come by and then worry about things such as airway and breathing.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about airway. That's part of this as well, but you're saying for people who aren't trained, they don't need to worry about this part.
That's right, Cara. Before it was the ABCs of CPR, airway, breathing, and chest compression. So we've turned that around to make chest compressions the #1 priority. If you happen to be trained in CPR, then after the chest compressions, you can go ahead and try to make sure there's an airway and that the person is getting breaths. But otherwise, just press on the chest. That's really the main message here.
Right. The third component for those who have been trained in CPR is the breaths. And this was a concern. This is part of the reason that you changed this, because there were some people who were not willing to give the breaths, correct?
That's right. There tended to be a lot of hesitancy to do that. And then that would lead to people just delaying starting the whole process. That would delay the life-saving chest compressions to get the blood flowing. Turns out after somebody takes their last breath, there often is adequate oxygen in the lungs, and if we can just get the heart pumping, even by doing external chest compressions, you can get oxygen and blood flow to vital organs and help save a life.
All right, and then just quickly, finally here, for people who have CPR training and certification, what do these new guidelines mean for them? Do they need to go back and get new certification?
Well, we always encourage people to be up to date with their training, and if you've never been trained, it's still better to try to get trained. We wish more people would do it, but hopefully with these guidelines, anyone really can step in and save a life.
All right, thanks so much for joining us today. So those new guidelines out this morning. We're reporting live here from Cedars-Sinai. Cara Finstrom, CBS 2 News.
Thanks a lot, Cara. 5:07 right now. New threats from Al-Qaeda.